It's a late goodbye. The devil grins from ear to ear when he sees the hand he's dealt us. Points at your flaming hair and then playing hide and seek. I can't breathe easy here, that's our trail's gone cold behind us. Till in the John mirror you stare at yourself grown old and weak. We keep driving into the night. It's a late goodbye, such a late goodbye. We keep driving into the night.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the episodic discussion for Max Payne. We will be discussing the trilogy as well as the newly announced remakes. But beforehand, I want to introduce my panel. So I am Renegade Operative, the main host, and I'd like to introduce Mr. Bane.
Yo, I'm Fuzzhow YT, also Bane. How's everybody been?
It's going pretty great for me, at least. It's going pretty good. So next
Pretty
up,
good.
next up is Zamzara.
How's it going?
It's going pretty
I'm here.
It's going pretty great as we enjoy our bullet time goodness with Max Payne.
Oh, I'm ready.
All ready to. Sean, introduce yourself, good sir.
Move, Max. That's a voice line from Max Payne 3. He says that. The piece of shit part with the boat.
I almost thought you said move, bitch, get out the way, but you know.
Bitch. He might as well have said that.
Next up is Nero.
Hey, what's up, guys? I can't wait for this. I got off work early for this, so hopefully it'll be worth it.
Next up is Lanos.
Hi everyone, I'm Lanosmire, also known as Lanos, and I've been looking forward to this for quite a while. I have been a fan from the very beginning. It's part of my childhood now, so I'm excited.
And last but not least is Mr. Cryo.
Hello, it's Cryo. This has been a long time coming. I've been waiting for this podcast for years.
Yep, we're finally getting it done. I guess now is the perfect time considering the announcement of the remake, so now is as good a time as any. We're gonna get right into it with the first question. So, what introduced you into the Max Payne franchise for the first time? Explain how you got into the IP in the first place. So, Bane, you gonna go first?
Well, I remember seeing reviews for it in OXM, and I was like, okay, that sounds kind of cool. I liked The Matrix, so I was like, bullet time was already a concept to me. And I ended up picking up the first game and fucking loving it. And ever since then, it's just been, the whole games.
I'll go next. My story is not really grand. I just saw the commercial for Max Payne 1 and 2, and that inspired me to get it, which is that commercial where he's like, he recites the line from Max Payne 2, if you're staring down the bullet of a gun, time goes by, your whole life passes by, and I thought that was like so hype. So I got like the first and second game, and I really dug them. I like the film, Noir storytelling, everything they presented there. It was a nice, intense shooter, which is something that I really needed after playing like so many RPGs on the PS2 when I first got it. And it was that adrenaline shot of just wondering what's going to happen next, because the story was like so tight and the characters were so memorable to this dark backdrop that they presented. So that was my first experience getting into it. Who wants to go next?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I was just gonna make mine brief because it's actually a brief story. But my mom would go to the UK to see her friend, and she ended up giving me a gift, and it was the Game Boy Advance version of Max Payne 1. And I fell in love with it instantly.
I never played Max Payne on the Game Boy Advance, so I guess, is that game like good?
It's not bad.
Okay. What about you, Sean? Since you're over there,
Well,
Snicker.
I'm trying to think. I vaguely remember my cousin playing it, like over his house, and like he was way too young to be playing that game at the time. He was probably like 8 or 9 years old, and I was the designated "this game is too hard, beat it for me" type of like big cousin, and I very vividly remember him not having a memory card at all. So very often I'd have to run through the exact same level over and over again. Keep in mind, I was a kid too. I was probably like 11 or 12, right? So I ain't know shit about anything. I would just run down corridors and mash the shoot button. I didn't even know there was a bullet time like mechanic at all. I just thought the dude screamed funny, and I was like, oh, this game's actually not all that bad. And as I started growing up and having more consoles in my life, whatever, of course, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna keep tabs on this. I think this game's pretty cool. Played 5 seconds of the second one, didn't like it, and then that third one dropped. I remember playing that to death on the 360, and then like ever since, Max Payne has just been so embedded into my life because of that whole like you said, crime noir. A bit like Punisher, a little bit like Punisher.
Yeah, they have something in common with like the dead family, so there is that.
Yeah, killed their family. It's spoilers if you never read Punisher, by the way. That happens.
Nero, what about you, buddy?
Well, I played it at an age where I wasn't supposed to play it. I played the second game first, and I just struggled with the controls a lot. Then I would say I'll go a few years later in 2018, 2019, I brought the first 2 games and I played a little bit of it. I never really finished them though, but I did like the story and the gameplay.
All right, what about you? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, and last year I brought Max Payne 3 and I played it for a little bit. That's about it.
I just got 3 again on PC, and I remember playing that on old school. And all these games are like really fucking hard too. Like,
oh yeah,
jeez, man.
Different era when hard meant hard.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Zamzara, what about you?
Yeah, I have a long history with Max Payne. I started with the first game back when I was like 13 years old. Back when you used to acquire things on the internet in various ways. This was one of the first games I got in one of those ways. I've bought it multiple times since then, but yeah, this is like one of those games that I just saw in magazines and stuff, thought it looked cool, and was able to get my hands on, and I fell in love with the series at that point, and then had played, bought Max Payne 2 after that, and played that as well. And the story really stuck with me. The stuff in between with the comic panels and stuff really stood out to me. Everybody's mentioned the Noir story, that kind of Punisher vigilante take on things really stood out to me. So it was always ingrained in me. And then when they announced Max Payne 3, and Rockstar was making it, I'm a big fan of GTA and everything Rockstar does. So to know that Max Payne was in Rockstar's hands was really exciting for me. And I got Max Payne 3 the day it came out, played it nonstop all the way through. And it's one of the few games that as soon as I finished the first playthrough, I started up a second playthrough immediately, went through like trying to get all the gold guns and everything. So I've played a lot of Max Payne. I love the gameplay, love the story. I think it's a really underrated series that not a lot of people talk about. So I'm excited to have a whole podcast or be on a whole podcast that's dedicated to that.
I guess the last man here is Lanos?
That would be me. Just like previously, I also have a very long history with Max Payne. I remember when it first came out and I was reading it in EGM, when we read gaming magazines. And I remember my very short story, my mom saying, "You're never going to play that game." And then about 3 days later, my dad coming home with that game and me playing the living hell out of it.
You will never play Max Payne.
And it's like, we'll see. And so I played it, and I always loved noir books. I grew up reading them. So it was just like seeing that, but with like the comic panels put together, which is like a dream come true. And God, they were hard as a kid. I played them recently, and they're still kind of hard. And I think forever the baby blood level will forever stick out to me. But that's
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
so yeah, it's quite memorable. So when this was mentioned, I'm like, yes, finally we're talking about this series. And in my opinion, it's one of Remedy's best series they've made so far, in my opinion.
Can I make like just one little addition to that? If they delete that level from the remakes, I will be forever grateful, because holy fucking shit. I think I died there or got like respawned to the beginning so many times.
That level was awesome. You didn't like hearing that
It's the most memorable level.
You didn't like hearing that same baby cry,
positive.
babycry.wav1 on loop. You didn't like
I
that?
didn't. Hot take. I didn't mind it.
Oh man, you must have been an ace.
I
because
enjoyed it. Yeah.
okay, the first part is not so bad, but
Bro.
the second part is where you have to jump and descend the pipes and jump down.
Those were not pipes.
Oh, well, baby blood
Bullshit.
bloodline. It is basically like you're walking on the symmetry of a pipe, but it's blood.
And it didn't even, and Max doesn't control very well for those sections. It's very much not a
No.
platformer.
God, yeah, no, I think I was like freshman of high school age, so for me it was like not as detrimental to my psyche, but it's still one of those that sticks out. I'm like, my God, they did this, didn't they?
To whoever said I didn't mind it that much. Yeah, bro, you was playing at 20% volume. You turned that bitch all the way down and went, yeah, now it's a fine game.
The screaming was the screaming was
volume.
ugh.
Yeah.
I just used bullet time because it made that section
Fuck it.
a little bit more easier, but damn, dude.
Makes sense.
I guess we can move on to the next question. So, Bane, could you read that off, please?
1 second here. Bullet time is a concept coined by this particular game, and is the ability to slow down time in order to gain a slight advantage over your enemies. What do you think about the progression of bullet time within the series? I'm gonna real quick bump mine in. I fucking love it. I love, just being able to like dive, go real slow, and just line up every little headshot. That's great to me.
Yeah, I don't think there's a mechanic that makes you feel
Sure.
like an action hero, like bullet time does.
In canon, it raises a lot of questions. Can Max just do that? Not necessarily the magic of being able to slow time, but does he just shoot that fast? Because I think he just shoots that fast.
They actually try to explain this in the manual for Max Payne 1. They just simply call it adrenaline. I know it's
Holy
like
shit.
I know it's like very dumb, but that's what they related to. He's just on an adrenaline high, painkillers, and therefore he can shoot faster than everyone else.
So essentially, painkillers make him shoot faster.
Something like that, yeah.
He's been on an adrenaline high for the past 3 games.
I know.
Yeah, that's if you really think about that, that's not good.
Dude's unhinged.
Yeah, that's why I agree. I was like, that does bring up some concerns.
He's kind of
A
drunk.
Max isn't an angel. Like, come on.
A
Yeah.
maximum amount of pain, one could
Oh,
say. Good lord.
I knew these puns would come sooner or later. I just knew it.
But
that's painful.
I was thinking about, I remember I read the question and I started thinking among the question of like, how has this progressed in the series? I started thinking, what other games, not to stray from the subject too far, but I started thinking, what other games had bullet time of this caliber besides any Rockstar game? Like the first one that came was like the John Woo, you know that one, the John
yeah.
Woo game, Stranglehold. But like other than that, I can't really
Don't forget Enter the Matrix.
Oh yeah.
I can't really think of any like real Max Payne tier bullet time mechanics. It made me think. It made me think. Did Remedy pull a Namco and say, "No, we're putting a copyright on that. If you use that, eat shit, and you gotta give us money."
Oh, you're talking about
Dead
Dead to Rights. Dead to Rights. I remember that had bullet time too.
Yeah. Oh, but
super hot.
God, did it though?
Yeah, it did. It did.
Oh yeah, it did. It did. I was just thinking of the dog meter.
it's not something they haven't done before. Like if you look at Alan Wake, just not to stray too far, when you get in close to go for those strikes, it does slow down like bullet time, and it's just like, is this just a Remedy thing?
It's a Remedy. It's their favorite mechanic, and that me thinking about that made me think the fact that I'm having this like mental dialogue of what other games have reached this caliber of bullet time shows like the bullet point, so to speak, that Max Payne left behind with that mechanic.
I mean, there's Fear, there's Fallout,
like somebody else said in here, it really does make you feel fucking awesome to pop that shit, and then like before your back even hits the ground, you drop like a whole room of dudes.
Yeah, absolutely to the max.
Awesome.
It's like playing a Zack Snyder film.
It's like playing a good Zack Snyder film, you could say.
Yes. That prerequisite needs to be stated.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to read the script of Zack Snyder read, and then he shot all the dudes before he hit the ground, and he looked really cool.
And then
he ate some painkillers.
And then he ate pudding. Yeah, Zack Snyder's a bit of a weird one.
And then the sad saxophone plays here. Cut to black.
So
okay,
yeah.
That's my answer. I think I feel like with the bullet time, I don't know how the hell they're gonna up the ante in any of the remakes that have been talked about or like touched on. I feel like they might just copy paste and go, fuck it, it's bullet time again, here you go. But what if they put in more shit? I know that's another question for another topic, but that's where the progression's gotta go. They gotta put in more shit. Like
they have had
pop ahead
since then. Yeah,
I
they're
pop
probably
ahead,
going to.
make it go even slower.
Well, hold on. I think each kill you refill the meter, so
you do.
Yeah.
Or injuring.
But not in slow motion. In slow motion, you're using the meter.
Yeah,
But
that's
you
true.
can continue to fill it as you're in slow-mo.
Yes, so you want to hit those targets. You want to be able to get those perfect.
They got to
shots.
make it crazy. Give me like 3 bars of slow-mo after I get 1 headshot.
You're just gonna make Max Payne OP at that point.
Fuck
But I think bullet time is great for the most part, just slowing down time. I like that little spin move that you could do in Max Payne 2, where it's like,
yeah, that shit was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Where once you reload, you just do like a super spin. I hope that's like back in the remake for Max Payne 2. But it's great. It's just one of those things where it's like it gives you the edge, of course, because the game is definitely already hard. And if you try to go into a firefight with a bunch of dudes in Max Payne without even utilizing the shoot dodge or whatever, you're going to basically die. You also just can't do it anytime you want when you shoot dodge, because you can hit a wall or something. I think Max Payne 3, you started to really get the physics in there, so you can fuck up, hit a wall, and then he'll stop in mid dive, and that'll screw you up. So you just can't do that.
For me, it's just like there's nothing that makes you feel more like a badass, or just because like you're taking on the Russian mob essentially, with just one person. And your biggest thing is, I'm taking a bunch of painkillers and shooting them all before they get there. Come on. You feel like a badass.
Especially doing it with like 2 guns. That's awesome too. Or grenade launcher.
Yeah, I say that, but in the first game, in that little Easter egg, he knew he was being controlled. He's like, wow, this sucks. I am not a fan of this at all.
Plus, it just allows the whole like action of everything to slow down, and it allows you to really take in everything that's happening. It doesn't just go by in a blur, and especially with like when you're hitting like all the little things in the environment that are exploding and popping off, especially in 3, like some of the particle effects and just explosions of debris that's around you when you're in bullet time just gets absolutely insane.
Yeah,
and you do feel like you're in a John Woo movie. It's amazing.
Like a lot of those. Like a lot of those office levels where you could see like paper debris flying around and shit. Or like, all the terrain you could destroy. Like those office walls, the cubicle walls, I mean to say.
It's just a nice eye for detail, just to see all those little particles that when you're interacting with them, I'm just like, good for you, Rockstar. Good for you.
Yeah, that's just like, we're going to have people slowing down looking at this. Let's make it something amazing to look at.
I just one little detail before we like move on to the next one. I like in Max Payne 3 where once you get the final kill, the cam would slow down and you could see the bullets like hitting the person's face or whatever, and then it's like holes in their head. Is very grisly detail, but you could just keep firing the bullet until you're like out of rounds, and I thought that part was also pretty sick.
Max is
Totally
pissed.
forgot about that. That's
great.
awesome. Yeah.
Oh, I forget the last man standing portion of like bullet time.
Yeah,
in 3. I that was also just a nice little add-on that I really liked.
Oh yeah, being able to save yourself if like you get that right shot.
Yeah, it's just like, nope, not down yet.
And we haven't talked about the sniping yet, where it follows the bullet down the trail. Like,
Oh yeah, which would
that's so
eventually
good.
which eventually be copied by Sniper Elite.
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah,
Yep.
I read all
Still
that.
great
Yeah, it
there
did.
too. Still great there too.
It's a game that influenced so much.
Honestly, I did like the progression of how the bullet time. It was different from its predecessor. So 2 wasn't the same as 1, and 3 definitely wasn't the same as 1 and 2.
I
I
just
definitely loved it, especially 3 when bullet time automatically kicked in. For example, when Max jumped through the window.
Oh
do
yeah,
remember that. That is a great point.
Yeah, they had a lot of bullet time set pieces in 3, like a lot
Yep.
of them. Like when you're sliding on the, I think it was some sort of tray or whatever, and it just automatically enters bullet time, and there's dudes in the windows, and you just shoot at them, boom, 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 and that's just
Or
so
there's a-
fun.
There's
The
a lot
boats
doing
jumping
well.
over you. Yeah.
I just want to point out that like bullet time itself is actually technically registered as like a trademark. Like Remedy had to do a whole different thing of basing it off John Woo's just filming to be able to get away with it. 'Cause,
Really?
yeah,
That's
bullet time is
interesting to me.
registered by Warner Brothers.
I knew that someone had a register, like a grip on that. No one's gonna let that shit just.
So they had to
up
base
in
it
the
off
air.
Gun Fu, John Woo's whole style. They had to
yeah.
base it off of that.
Oh, yeah, I also forgot to mention as well. There's also the part where Max jumps on the chain,
Yeah,
and then that's when the bullet time kicks in. I'm like,
yeah. Those
Oh,
areas
no.
where the bullet time would just kick in by itself.
That
without
garage
having
in
to press the prompt.
particular.
That shit's cool.
Yeah,
I
that garage in particular is a really good set piece.
oh hell yeah! But my personal favorite still has to be the nightclub.
Oh yeah,
In the
yeah,
second
yeah.
level,
sure.
yep.
For sure.
Where he throws the guy out the window and he does bullet time automatically. You're shooting the dudes on the way down. That's so fucking cool, dude. I love it.
I find it funny that we're going out of our way to not talk about Max Payne 1. I recently had the treat of replaying through that classic. Now, game's fine, but some parts just do not age well.
Yeah.
At
If you
all.
don't have nostalgia for it, it's rough.
No, I do.
get
It's
that.
just
But that's why you could get through it. That's what I'm
"Oh."
saying. Like,
I don't dislike it. I just know it is a product of its time. It's
Rough.
difficulty alone makes you want to throw the controller at a wall.
rough around the edges for sure.
Ugh. And also the facial mapping. You look at that.
No, that part's awesome.
Things have come a long way.
I have nothing bad to say about that part. That part's cool.
Constipated Sam Lake. Let's
Where
go.
he's just stuck with that face the whole game.
Yeah, he does look like he's just about to take a shit.
He's smug
Memes
about it. too.
There were Sam Lake memes about it.
He still does the face for the fans. I just think that's
It's
great.
so fucking cool. It's a cool face. It really grows on you after a few levels.
It grows on you, he says. Oh man, let's move to question number 3, please. Solanos, could you read that off, please?
Oh, sure thing. What was your favorite or at least favorite weapons in the Max Payne franchise? I mean, for me personally, I was a pump action shotgun kind of person just because it just seemed to be very versatile through most things. Like the sniper rifle was really nice, especially when you could like follow like some of the animation with that. But I don't know. There's something simple about just a pump action shotgun just to get you through things.
All of the melee weapons were terrible.
Yes,
I
they
agree.
are.
Every single one.
Yeah.
Especially the lead pipe.
Not
Yes.
even.
I definitely like the pump shotgun. I'm a classic kind of guy, so like honestly, I did like using The dual Berettas.
One thing I like about the pump action shotgun is in the first one they have a camera shake and it's a lot more visceral that
Yeah,
way.
yeah, and
Mhm.
it's and the shotgun sound I remember being very loud and like
It's very loud.
bombastic. Like,
I kind of felt like I was in a Western when I would use it. It's like, you're just like,
bring back. Hey, listen, all you fine folks over at Remedy working real hard on the remake. Bring back the funny sounds that the goons would make when you kill them.
Oh
Leave
yeah.
that shit in.
Just
Leave it in. Or redo it if you have to. Don't take it out. But yeah. I'd have to say any of the weapons that were extremely high caliber and had a low, like, not low ammo count, so to speak, but like it's really rare to find ammo for like the Ingram, for example, the Deagle, like a few of the really high damage, powerful ass weapons. I loved them because I could just aim center mass, and I was terrible at shooters at this time. I was a child and I know what the fuck I was doing. So I was always dependent on these high damage ass weapons like shotgun or whatever. Hot take, I don't necessarily like dual wielding weapons. I'm not the biggest fan of it.
I was gonna say I love anything that I could dual wield.
That's just
my
2
favorite.
reloads and then I'm dead.
Yeah, no, I love the Mac, the Ingram, anything that I could dual wield, MP5s. I love that, but I especially loved it in 3 where you could mix and match. I thought that was a great,
That was pretty great.
change that they could make to the series, because being able to have like a Desert Eagle or a revolver paired with like some sort of SMG or something just was awesome.
Yeah, you're right. Max Payne 3 was the one where you could take weapons and mix and match. So I think one time I had a sawn-off shotgun, and I think I had a Deagle or an Ingram. Like I like that you could change between those weapons, but in that sort of sacrifice they did get rid of the weapon tree, which you could just pull out whatever, but
Yeah.
it didn't bother me too much, honestly.
Just a trench coat full of weapons.
Yeah, I think having that in 3, where you didn't have the wheel where you could carry everything, allowed you to experiment with a lot of the weapons in the games, where the first 2 games you would pick what your favorite was, and as long as you could find ammo for it, you were using that. But in 3, it kind of forced you to experiment with all the weapons that they put in the game, because there's a ton more weapons in that game.
oh, that was so nice though, because just being able to not have to go back and forth, like, okay, am I gonna find ammunition for this? Nope, just stick with it. It's fine. I'll just get through it. Being able to just kind of look at everything, like, made it so much more versatile.
Yeah. I also like the detail that sometimes Max will close one eye when he's aiming. Just the one. And I'm like, that's cool. He could just have both of his eyes wide the fuck open while he's shooting. But I like that he's like, even he has to do a little Clint Eastwood. Even he has to aim with one eye a little bit.
Yeah, favorite guns, very simple for me. I would say Ingram's definitely a go-to, and least favorite, we already talked about it. It's the melee.
They're terrible.
It's very terrible. It's hard. Like I can see why they put it in, because if you don't have a gun, you got to use something to hit the enemies. But you get close, they have shotguns. Like usually in most situations, if you don't have a gun and they have shotguns, then you're fucked. There's also that level where you wake up after being beaten down by a baseball bat, and you have no gun, and you only have the pipe, so you have to sort of stealth around people to kill them, and if you alert anybody, you're practically fucking dead. So yeah, that's where the melee really is bad.
Yeah, and I like stealth games. Like, I have no problems with them, but like,
Yeah,
Remedy,
sneaking.
if you ever listen to this, please, for the love of God, fix that. Make me like melee weapons again in that game, because I'll play it a lot more. I'll use them, I swear.
How'd you guys feel when you could like disarm people in Max Payne 3 as the alternative? Like you could just take their weapon
That
and
shit was awesome.
kill them with it. That was awesome. I like that.
Well, it depends. Sometimes you
I
would
like
lose
having
those fights.
options.
Those fights aren't like, what's the word? They're not guaranteed. Sometimes you'll just lose them for no reason. And then you'll use up a painkiller. Or you'll just fucking die.
Yeah,
Oh,
it could be
forgot
hard
what I was
if
gonna
you're in a bad situation.
Here's how the hell they can fix the melee situation. Now, if anybody plays Max Payne 1 on the PC, there is a mod. There's like a Kung Fu-esque mod that you can make it really like John Woo. There's like a few, like, they change how the melee works. You could do like kicks. slow motion karate kicks through the air, and like that break dance thing where you're on the ground and throwing your legs around. You could do that sort of shit, and it's a mod, right? Put it in the remake. Fuck it. Make Max a kung fu man. Make him Iron Fist. Make him Daredevil in that hallway scene.
It could be DLC, and you know what? I would get it for an extra mode.
Top dollar for it.
You know, I got a very good question.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't on the doc.
Yeah.
But it matches up with the next two questions. But what's everyone's thoughts on each game's story? For me, Max Payne and Max Payne 3, those two stories sticks out the most.
Yeah, it's the one everybody, it's the two everybody remembers.
Yeah,
I don't think a lot of people remember two.
I remember two for gameplay. I do not remember story.
Yeah.
I just remember two as Mona basically supposed to kill Max, but she could not find it in her to kill him, so she ends up getting killed by her employer, and she dies in Max's arms, and the game ends, and it's like with that sad ass song, and it's like, well, okay, Remedy.
Max just isn't allowed to be happy ever, and we're making sure of it.
Yeah, that's what sticks out the most for me with Max Payne 2, because like the last person he felt this way with was his wife, and that was many years ago. And he found someone that he shared those feelings with finally after all those years, and within a New York minute, also reference to the first game, just taken away from him, just like his wife was.
So this is sort of, I mean, we did say the question number 4 is talking about the story within the trilogy, so that's like all 3 games. But yeah, I think most people will indeed remember like 1 and 2, and then when 3 sort of came around, I mean, it's still interesting, but they sort of shifted around the genre, which we'll talk about later. And I mean, it wasn't bad. It was still like a Hollywood blockbuster story, but I think most people miss the gritty detective elements. I think if I were to say which one I liked the most in terms of plot and which resonated to me, it would be the first one, because that was the game where you got to, it's like an origin, you got to know everything as well, but it was so many layers of detail between Project Valhalla, Max, the inner circle, establishing everything, and the fact that he lost his wife and he's dealing with all this trauma going on with him. The second one is like sort of, they're trying to add on top of it, but it's not that same sort of punch, but it's still pretty good in some aspects.
Right.
I mean, come on. He goes on a killing spree in the first one, and in the second one, it's like, oh no, but it's okay. A senator said it's okay. He's fine now. That doesn't matter.
Yeah,
so it's just like, that was Remedy's like stamp of like, it's fine. Now let's move on. And it's just like, what? Hold on.
They're like thousands of mobsters. I know they're bad people, but goddamn.
Yeah, so that was my thought process. Was that it's like, that's what I remember from Max Payne 2. I'm like, oh, so that's how that works.
I will say,
they definitely didn't develop the plot in the second one as much. It feels like everything is just an excuse to have more Max Payne gameplay, where the first and the third one definitely seem like they have more care put into them as far as the motivations behind Max doing things, where I do like 3 and where he ended up, because a character like that, you kind of feel like that's where he would end up. I know the question mentions the brooding nature of Max Payne himself. So I think if you're talking about a dark brooding character that starts in Max Payne 1, does go on this killing spree and continues that killing spree in 2, he does end up this kind of dark, tormented person that maybe ends up doing private security and gets pulled into another similar situation.
Yeah, because from what I remember at Max Payne 3, when he's going on drinking binges in his apartment while downing some painkillers because he's addicted to them, I remember he was like, I wish this nightmare would just end He's like, I'm tired of fighting, which means because of his PTSD with all that he's been through, first with his wife going down, taking the corporation that was responsible for his wife and his baby getting brutally murdered, and then losing the next person that he loved, Mona. Now having because he also, I want to say, he did lose his job initially after the first game, but he got it back. Just all of that just culminated to him having severe PTSD, which that's why he takes the painkillers and binge drinks, because like he said in the first game, like these will make the pain go away or something like that, or these will ease the pain.
Right.
So it just makes a lot of sense, like everything he's dealt with culminated into a very dark Max where he just wants to stop fighting, but he knows deep down that's all he knows how to really do ever since the first game.
The beginning of 3 is really fucking sad. Like, holy shit, dude.
It's really, really sad.
It reeled you all the way in. Then it went, all right, here's the menu. Go ahead, just some options.
And you really have to think about it, though, because that's when like Rockstar took over. So they had to go something big to pull you in. That's why 3 stands out so much.
And they also knew it'd be the end. So instead of, that's why I feel that they shifted from that film noir sort of thing and moved it straight into crime drama, because I think they wanted to give it more finality. Like they wanted to give it a solid, proper close.
I agree.
I agree with that, definitely, because for once with Max, we see that there is a glimpse of hope for Max in general. Like we somewhat saw it at the end of Max Payne once he got loaded into the back of the cop's car and he was getting arrested, and he had that smirk on his face. Like, oh, it's going to have hope now. Then the second game came out. Nope, no hope. But with the third game, and he did the job.
Abandon all hope. All
he
who enter here.
Exactly. Nice reference. But like, just the end of the game and him just looks very hopeful with Max, and we have never seen that for 100% with the character at all, with his story and his progression and his character development.
I just
at a certain point in 3, my bad, but I was gonna say at a certain point in 3, you saw that he like finally picked himself up by the bootstraps and said, all right, whatever, the past is the past, it happened, it's either I move on or I let this consume me. And in the airport level, very famous level, everybody knows about it because of the song that plays by Tears, where it's essentially his dead family saying, hey yo, do what you gotta do, let us go, you did what you could, if things were different we'd still be alive, but hey, you gotta move on at this point. And then he said fuck it and then you saw at the end of the third game that he like you got that closure, you got the finality, you got that he's not this struggling, like deprived, addicted, just coping Max. We got this more like hopeful, prideful, maybe something new will come of what I've just done sort of Max. I think it was a very nice, solid close. And you could see it all from him just watching news and like nodding or whatever. And you could also see that he was no longer drinking alcohol at that point. He was drinking a little soda, a little bottled Sprite.
He also took a walk along the beach.
Yeah, he got a little tan. He's like, you know what? I needed this. I needed some time out in the sun.
What I'm maybe curious about, and this is kind of the first time I thought about this, and I don't know what the timeline looks, but related to the tonal shift. So Max Payne 1 and 2 are these crime noirs, but Rockstar takes over with 3. But they, a year before Max Payne 3 comes out, just released LA Noir. And I know that was developed by Team Bondi starting back in the early 2000s, but I'm wondering if that had any play. Like, are we going to have 2 noir games out at the same time? Or are we going to put a noir detective game out and then we're going to put out an action game?
They probably didn't want to double dip. That's a good point.
They probably just they were on a kick for it. So,
because I remember when people were like kind of pissed that Max was bald now, even though in the context of the game, because I remember that controversy. The context of the game, it made sense because this was his sort of personalization of
That's
him
when he
being,
took hold. Yeah.
him being sober for once. So I'm like, I get it. He cut his hair because like this is just him trying to take his life back, and I thought that was the perfect way to do it. Like, I just remember initially people were so pissed, like, this is not Max Payne. Why is Max Payne bald? What are you doing, Rockstar? And then when you play the game, it makes sense.
Well, they were already pissed that Rockstar was doing it because they wanted Remedy.
Yeah.
And they were mad that it was sold to begin with. So they're also dealing with that. But also, like, it was crime focused because that's what Rockstar does. They did it for a very long time. They have a whole series of games, so they leaned into what they knew better.
They were also pissed over the Sao Paulo location as well, because Max is not supposed to be in sunlight. And they put in New York levels.
Must be darkness.
Well. Yeah. They put in New York levels as well, so it's like you can play the New York levels and sort of get.
And look, he's got all his hair.
Yeah, his hair is back.
To add on to what you were saying earlier, where you're like, that was a moment in which he was trying to take his life back, in a very Max Payne-esque way too, because you saw he didn't really have much control over anything happening in his life. So he's like, well, I can cut my hair at least. It's sort of like putting a really big etch into the wall. But, it's permanently attached to him. So maybe the baldness was his constant reminder that, I'm sober. I'm a new guy. I'm Mr. Cue Ball. I don't smoke. I don't drink. Yeah, that's when he started fully, like, trying to roll himself out, so to speak. Like, he went to that club and was like, just give me a soda. I'm trying to sober up.
Yeah, he said it like, I'm 1 week sober and it's misery. This is what he said when he was in Sao Paulo. So it's just a good plot point with the way that they did it. And while 2 has those like ups and downs, I do think that there is definitely, they try to reintroduce the love story thing in there with Mona Sachs, and I mean there's a lot of bits of it that I did like, but one of the questions that I had is, despite all the noir stuff and you see the remakes with Remedy, do you think that they're going to try after the remakes to do a Max Payne 4, or do you think his story is like pretty much closed?
I think with the way 3 opened up and closed, I feel like that's going to be the last one for Max's story, at least. If they're going to continue the Max Payne like game, so whatever, they're probably going to have the 4th one be led by Mona, or be led by a completely different character, or it might be a prequel. Like, oh, this is way before Max Payne 1. Fuck it. This is back, but way before Max became a cop. This is how we got so good at shot dodging. Something like that. Because I feel like 3 is a very solid close for this series.
They would.
I think they made it that way on purpose.
They would need to jump through a lot of hoops to make the story make sense, I feel like.
They would, but I would also like to point out, like, most of the time when people end up doing remakes, it's usually just to test the waters to see how it will do. So I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't attempt a Max Payne 4, or something of like maybe a sidestepping nature that's close to the story but not actually Max. And it might just be them testing mechanics currently.
Yeah, that could be a thing. Like, I would be all for it, because I think there was a recent interview where Remedy said if they did Max Payne 3, it would be a totally different game. And that just caught my eye. I'm like, oh, what are you saying here? What does that mean?
If they redid Max Payne 3 at that point.
No, they said they said if they were commissioned to do Max Payne 3, it would have been a different tone, a different vision than anything Rockstar did for that game thus far.
They said they always regretted selling it off to Rockstar for it. That's in a past interview. They've always wanted to do 3, but they had to move on to other properties at that point, and Rockstar wanted it. So it allowed them to have that kind of liquid to be able to move on to a different one. but they've always regretted doing it.
Yeah, they do respect it though. They said they do like Max Payne 3 and how it turned out, so it is good that they have that sort of good relationship still after all these years. I got sidetracked for a second. What are your thoughts on the tonal shift from film noir to crime drama when they reached Max Payne 3? Personally, I didn't really mind it that much. I know people will say that, hey, the story got worse. I was hearing those opinions as well, but I mean, I was thoroughly invested into the game when I played it. When I got it day one, they didn't miss a beat to me. I do miss film noir because I do feel though that the monologue in the previous Max Payne games, they were much stronger than the monologue now, especially the American clap thing that he mentioned in Max Payne 3. I just thought that's there. It's not as good as the original, but I do, and like all the cynicism and pessimism and the stuff you would expect from Max was still mostly like they're just told under Rockstar's lens. So it was different, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah. It's a good way to put it. I was gonna say, I'm gonna ramble a bit for this answer, but you all know Martin Scorsese. How do you say the name? Dude who made Goodfellas. Scorsese. His whole thing with his mafia movies and with his most recent mafia movie, Irishman, there was a part where the main character, he goes, if I'm gonna be dead and I'm gonna be buried or whatever, I don't want to be cremated. Even though you're dead and it's the most final way to be put down, you know, when you're in a casket, it's not as final, but you know, when you're cremated, it's got more finality. And I think that's the mindset I had when they changed tone from crime, from the film noir or whatever to the crime-esque tone. Like, I feel like the film noir, it didn't have that finality, so to speak. Like, that's why I was able to stretch for the first two games. One part because it was written by Remedy, of course. You know, they were able to keep that stretch going. And since it's going to another team, of course, they're going to have a completely different like outlook on how Max is as a character, as we all do, as every single one of us in here does. But I feel like I liked the change. It was a really good change. I wouldn't, if I had a choice to keep it film noir or leave it as crime, I leave it as crime, because I think it'd be one thing if the third one was like, you know, mediocre or like C+ or even dog shit, but it was a very solid close to the series, so I wouldn't change it. I think it was a really good tone shift.
Yeah, I definitely do agree, because for me personally, with film noir, film noirs aren't necessarily nitty gritty, compared to like crime dramas. So me personally, because of what they were trying to do with the character, have it be like really dark, you know, given, you know, his addiction, him getting over his addiction, him struggling with, you know, his PTSD. Like I mentioned a while ago, you would not be able to really do that much with film noir like that.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I mean, moving the setting to Sao Paulo, like you said, crime drama is sometimes a little bit more dark, gritty, dirty, where film noir is a little bit maybe not cleaner necessarily, but maybe polished, I guess, where you know, it was still a dirty environment, but the story and the way it was told felt cleaner, where Max Payne 3 being a crime drama definitely feels dark and gritty, and that mirrors the environments kind of that they take place in. That's definitely a cool point to make.
For me, I think it was almost needed because I love film noir, and honestly, in most games, you don't see it happen, so it's refreshing when it does happen. But noir does not lend itself very well to sequels. Most of the time, they're a very closed off story being told. It's not something that's extended over and over and over. So at a certain point, I think the tone had to change if the story was going to continue.
If it were to close.
Yes. Because either it has to have some kind of final, and most noirs are, they end in a very special cutaway, and for a game that's trying to like bookend into a trilogy, the noir approach may not be the best one. So going into it with the crime focus not only sets it apart, it's Rockstar. You could tell it's a new game, you could tell it's a new team doing it, but also it refreshes the story, because after a while you're gonna start playing the same beats and it's gonna look the same. So you have to do something different.
Yeah.
So translation, all film noir mostly ends in death, which if you watched a lot of Sin City
Yes.
or
yeah.
or saw a lot of the
Yes.
Sin City novels, like most of the main characters just fucking die in those. I think personally is great for the most part that they adhere to things of that nature. Just the only thing I didn't like is the comic panels that they tried to do with the cutscenes, where it's like strobe lights and green filters over everything. It kind of took me out of it a little bit, but over time I started to respect it, because I guess these are all based on Max's mood. So when he's like super high and fried out of his mind and trying to remember his family, it all doesn't look right. It all doesn't feel right. And the vibe that they were going for with that, I think kind of translated in those scenes in particular.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's when a lot of people were upset about the filter that they use, the video, like the VHS kind of flickery ass filter
I do
for
remember
a lot
that.
of the cutscenes.
Yeah.
I remember I didn't mind it too much. I still don't mind it that much now, but in certain cutscenes I do go like, all right, fucking enough. Like at the clubs, there's already enough lights and bright shit going on at the club,
That's so true.
so I don't need any more visual stimuli.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
It definitely kind of put you into like seeing the world through the eyes of Max in that third game, but
Yeah, that's what I was gonna mention actually. That I think the comic panels, the shifts to like the next act or the next mission, it's because we're seeing this through the mind of Max, which is why it's all like very disoriented. And also he's going through withdrawals. So it's not gonna be exactly picture perfect for him.
yeah, I mean I like the comic panels in the first one, or the first two games much more than, especially the first game, much more than the stuff in the third game, because it does get overwhelming at certain points, but it's not something that really sticks out in my mind as either being overly good or bad for the game.
Bane, do you have any thoughts on the story? Is Bane dead? Oh, he's dead.
But no, I'm still here.
Do you have any thoughts on the story and how they handle things?
Story.
I honestly think that I think it did it right. You know, it is a different style with 3, but I still think it's a pretty good style with 3.
Yeah, like I again,
I
it's
don't really much of that. Sorry.
yeah, it's cool. It's just that initial thing, that initial knee-jerk reaction. I do remember that, where people were like, "Oh, Rockstar is gonna fuck it up because Max is bald." I was there for that day one, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna wait till it comes out.
Hey,
I
I
was
won't
like,
lie,
look,
it
Rockstar
is
had made-
jarring.
Yeah,
Rockstar had made a
for
bad game at
sure.
that point, so I was like hyped.
well, yeah, I just thought it was Max is going into a darker place than he was into, and that's the only direction they could have gone initially, and they kind of did that, but they also kind of gave him hope at the end of it. So it's like I appreciate that.
Yeah, one thing I would really appreciate what Rockstar did with the third game is that it didn't feel like they just did it for the money. They actually put heart and soul into like the story and developing continuing Max's character story.
Oh yeah,
I feel like they did understand the character.
I mean, given how Rockstar, I was so used to Rockstar doing like GTA and Manhunt and Bully and Red Dead I'm like, it actually kind of surprised me, like the good work that they did with Max Payne 3.
Yeah, if they didn't care, I would say they wouldn't have delayed it. I think this game got delayed like twice, if I remember.
It did. But also, if you really think about it, the reason a lot of those sometimes just don't do well is because they're telling a whole ton of stories. But if you get down to some of the individual stories they tell, even in those games, they are very good. They just do too much. You could even see that with like LA Noir. Like if you really get down to one story, it gets really good. So I could see why they were able to do it with Max, because you're focusing more on just one moment that's happening rather than just like all of these crime stories happening while trying to give someone a giant sandbox.
But they could have royally screwed it up because Rockstar's traditional tone between all the GTA games, Red Dead, all those, Bully, it's very tongue-in-cheek. You know, if they would have went that tongue-in-cheek tone with Max Payne, they would have really screwed it up. So the fact that they understood that world and that tone and the essence of that character to not do that shows what great developers they really are.
Yeah, they kept Max mostly, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but this is just one point I really want to make. Yeah. They really showed this with the fact that Max is still mostly serious, and if there was comedic beats, it was either, you know, small scale, like there is the thing at the end where Max says you'll walk with a limp, sure, and I guess that makes sense, you know, action movie conventions, you know, I could buy it. But if
dark humor.
Yeah, but if there is a lot of humor from another character, I would say it's Passos. They mostly regulated that all to him. Like, yeah, Passos is the funny one.
Oh yeah,
because it's a buddy cop movie is really what it is when you boil it down.
It's funny that you mentioned that now. With his first, like when you first saw him on screen, or when you were supposed to first see him on screen rather, like when he came in and Max was drinking in the bar and he's like, Max fucking Payne, you know, and then those goobers, those other Italiano guys were giving Max shit, which they knew who he was prior. Do they know how many like
people he killed?
How many people he has slaughtered at this point? And they're like prying them and poking them and giving them shit like, yeah, fuck you, Max. Those 2 mafia syndicates you took down single-handedly, you can't do that to my mafia team, you pussy. I found that I didn't think about that until just now. That is so weird. Why they do that?
If you think about it though, when someone kills that many people, you become more like an urban legend. So at points is like, did that really happen?
No, but they knew. They were joke. They were like prying them about. They knew. They were like, yeah, all that shit got your wife killed. They were giving them shit about it. So they knew. So they knew.
Yeah, and
egos. What can you say? Egos.
I'm so glad he got
really
shot.
The only answer.
I'm so glad
this shit blown in.
I'm so glad those Jersey hoods got shot, because I was like, it was just building up to it. As soon as he was gonna like smack the girl, I was like, yeah, he's going to die.
He did smack her.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Like, I found out that part was kind of a pseudo a pseudo quick time event, and you couldn't even you can't press anything else. If you sit there and don't press anything, Max will eventually just shoot him on his own.
Yeah,
so Max takes helm at that point and goes, "Nah, I'm doing it."
And plus, I mean, Ren, as soon as you know they mentioned his wife, that's automatic. You're dead. You're marked.
You're dead. Well, even then, when they mentioned his wife, that still wasn't even enough to set him off.
Yeah, he let it go. It's funny because he just let it go.
Yeah, because I think at that point he was like ready. He was like trying to like trying to like move on. He was trying to move on. Then mentioned that, and he's like, "All right, I'm giving you a silent warning."
And then Passos came in. He's like, Max fucking Payne. The reason I remember that moment. Sorry to cut you off again. This is a really dumb joke. The reason I remember that moment so vividly was because there was a post that was like, it had the exact date in minute and second that Max Payne came out, and it said, "Me when I get home and open up my GameStop bag." It was Passos going, Max fucking Payne. He's got a third game. Oh yeah, go. You're just.
Oh no, you're fine. I mean, also like the fact that word spreads around very fast in New York City. So I mean, they should have known that not too long ago he had actually got his badge back. So it's kind of dumb for them to provoke him. I don't know. I guess street cred would be like, hey, I poked the bear and I lived. No, you
yeah,
didn't.
Justify,
You're dead.
justify
Super
shooting.
didn't.
Justify shooting.
Extremely justified shooting. The barkeep didn't even do anything. He's like, oh,
It's
Max
like
is going off. Max is doing that thing again. I'm just gonna.
Oh well. Oh, is it
Okay.
Friday? Is it really
Yeah.
Friday night? Oh well, there's gonna be a dead body.
But
They all came. That's so stupid. They all came back with guns. I need to replay that game again. It's very clear.
Same.
such a
I need
good
to-
game.
I need to replay all of them, especially 3. Damn.
But we need
Especially the
to
music.
move on to number 6.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
Cryo, could you read that off, please?
Sure. Okay. You said 6?
Yep.
What are your thoughts on the Max Payne remakes for the first and second game? They were announced quite a while ago. They will be once again helmed by Remedy and Sam Lake under the Northlight engine, so it won't be like the GTA trilogy where it was outsourced. I'll go quick on this one. It's plain and simple. I'm pretty fucking excited because I love the first 2 games. Like playing through it, it was really fun. The first game was very heart-wrenching. Like hearing Max scream in pain no after holding his dead wife in his arms. It's very gut-wrenching. The music, just simple piano music, just perfect. So I really want to see that. I really want to see those moments again, but up to date models and shit. I really want to see that.
I agree. It's under the Northlight engine, which, say what you want to say about Quantum Break, Control, they're at least beautiful games. And seeing
Agreed.
these remakes being made in that engine where destruction is, we talked about destruction earlier, being able to see those little details as you're like blowing through pages, like just through the gunfire, it being amplified into this engine alone is worth it. And it's just gonna look so good and sound so good. I can't see this going wrong. I mean, I could be wrong here and you could post date on this, but man, it looks so good.
Right. I can't wait for it as well. I hope this does for Max Payne 1 and 2 what the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes did for those games, where it just put them back on the map, put them back on the radar. Maybe this does mean, maybe they're testing the water, testing the temperature for how hot Max Payne is right now. Maybe that does mean we get a Max Payne 4 in 5 or 6 years. But seeing it on a new engine, new graphics, retelling that story, as long as they take care with it, which obviously they care about it, they're the ones that created it, I don't see it missing for anybody who's a fan of the series.
Yeah, I honestly, one thing I really hope they do is I hope for the second game they keep Poets of the Fall.
Yes, I want to that's the song at the end. I forgot the name of it. Fuck, but yeah, that's
Late Goodbye.
Yeah, Late Goodbye. I hope
Yep.
that song is just either the same or redone because
Okay, I can't say
flying into the night. Yep.
They are very, very close with that band. We saw that with Alan Wake. They had the song even in Control from them. So for them not to use that band again would be very, very surprising.
Yeah.
What if they sing? What if the band actually ends up they don't even use like the original version of the song, they recreate the song just for that game.
That'd be cool. I'd be down for that. A lot of like elements I want to see just updated because once again,
Sam Lake.
Good.
I'm like,
I was gonna say Sam Lake as the model
For
back in the first game.
Sam Lake is Max Payne again, or I don't know.
Yes.
Like it was the kind of thing where it's like they reeled people out of the offices and they
Still
used.
got the jacket.
They
Still got the jacket.
Yeah, I think it'll be just easy to
He
scan
fits
him
it.
in. Yeah, he fits it.
He fits in it perfectly. I think during Max Payne's birthday, the franchise's birthday, he posted something on Twitter, him putting on the jacket and him doing the Max Payne face.
Yep.
He was getting right into it. I'm like, yeah.
But I think
Also, like,
oh, go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, for 2, I think they used someone different, if I'm not too mistaken. So I don't know if they're gonna do that between the remake and this one. I think it's whoever they pick, which it might be Sam Lake. It's just gonna be consistent throughout the model. Just the
Would be
clothes are gonna
nice.
change. Yeah,
I just thought of that too. What if they actually use Sam for both remakes?
I'd be fine with this.
I'd be fine
I'd
with that.
be like,
I could run with
yes.
this. I think.
I could futz with it.
But Lana,
Oh
you
yeah,
were
the
saying
person.
something? Oh, never mind.
Oh, the person they used was Timothy Gibbs
Yes.
for Max Payne 2.
Yeah, because they said that, oh, we're updating the models and we have more budget, so now the character could be a little bit more expressive in cutscenes. And even now, like, the cutscenes have evolved into motion capture and using faces and stuff like that. So I would suppose that they're going to use that technology in Northlight as well. So the performances are going to be a lot more illustrated. It just makes me wonder, I guess if they're doing this, the comic panels, are they going to stay or go?
Oh,
To stay,
stay.
I think they're
Please.
gonna add to it, really, because if you look how comic panels are used in movies and games now, they're a little bit more animated. It shows a little bit more of like the details, so there might be a little bit more flourishing to it. It's a
More
kind of an integral part of it.
photorealism. Yeah, more photorealism,
Yeah.
most likely, because it's the same thing in the first game. Like each shot, it was almost like as if they just like took a picture of them and just slap it together in an engine and stuff like that. So like I could see them doing something like that, just make it very photorealistic.
Maybe something like
I would love to see that.
something like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where it's definitely still animated and they're showing their chops with the technology and acting, but there are still like comic panels going on, thoughts on the character's head. You know, you can still see that in the cutscenes itself. It won't break immersion or anything. It's just like a little callback to the originals at best.
Yeah, I think they need to at least acknowledge the comic inspiration from that first game. I'd like to see them do something creative and innovative for that, to do some sort of comic panel in a 3D space, not in the way that Max Payne 3 did it.
Yeah. Something just like I said, Into the Spider-Verse, where it's like they're moving, but you could see their thoughts. You could see some like small filters in the background where you could tell, oh, this is clearly like not fully a 3D cutscene. There's a filter on it and something like that going on where it's like, oh, that's cool. It's not blinding, you know.
Yeah,
I could
that's what I
see
was
them
talking
doing
about.
stop motion. I could see them doing like stop motion, for example, just still image after still image.
Yeah, it's been used before. Like it's actually almost like a standard because Spider-Verse has done that now. So for them not to like get inspiration from that, come on.
Let's see what else could be better. I don't know if they're gonna fix the baby nightmare thing. I suppose you should.
They should not. They
You know
leave
what?
it.
If they're the brave developers that I know that they are, they're gonna leave it in and leave it in. No. Actually, get off that subject. Fuck the baby level. Let's talk about that level where the whole like restaurant was just on fire and the fire slowly built as you move through certain parts. That was the longest 28 minutes of my life.
Yeah.
Trying to beat that shit. I was like, is the fire alive? Am I playing Backdraft? Why is the fire alive and trying to kill me?
My question is, are they going to lean more into the dream sequences, especially with the first one? Because, you know, it's kind of heavy with that.
Yeah, Max gets knocked out because he gets injected with Valkyr, so I would suppose that would have to be in there as well as all the other moments. So I don't.
They may just fix.
Oh my
they may just fix it to where the blood trail is more noticeable
to walk on. By
I mean, even if they redo it, where it's not following a blood trail, but still a dream sequence that gets the same point across. I mean, they've done Alan Wake since then, so they've dabbled in horror more than other developers have. So they could redo that whole sequence and even lean more into the horror and make it that much more terrifying or that much more effective than just following a blood trail.
I mean, during that, I mean, probably would end up having some parts kind of like not jump scare-esque moments, but like moments where suddenly you just hear like yelling hallucination of Max's, where like his dead wife is yelling at him, going like, "You let us die."
Imagine if they get the sound design from something like Senua's Sacrifice, like Hellblade.
Oh,
you say that, and it made me think of the stock, like free stock sound effects that they use. Like every time you fell off of the blood level, it would play that stock Howie scream, but they pitch shifted it a little bit so you couldn't tell. I can't really do it, but you know what sound I'm talking about. They just pitch shifted it ever so slightly.
Oh yeah.
But like that's why I'm like so excited for the Northlight engine, because come on,
bring back the shitty stock sound effects.
But yeah,
awesome.
I think that Hellblade sound design, that'd be good. The constant reminder of Max's wife, even the baby saying, you know, "You let us die."
You let us die.
That would be cool. I think I don't know if people in here have played it, but I think God of War 3 had a little blood trail section, but you weren't walking on like invisible like lines. You were just like going from one trail to the next and seeing key points of the game. That's one way they could do it as well.
Remember this.
Yeah, it's a lot of opportunities to expand on, and I think that's one of the things they could do. For gameplay, it's just pretty basic stuff like bring Max Payne 1 up to snuff with modern day controls, and obviously doing the shoot dodging better and having it feel a little bit more responsive with rolling and all that stuff, evasive tactics. Like, do you guys want a cover mechanic in this game or no?
Please no.
I'm conflicted.
Because
I don't
3
know.
had it, so I had to bring it up.
Yeah, that's why I'm conflicted, because if it's used in like limited spurts, then yeah, but like the point of that is just high speed. That's why you have the bullet time.
Well, yeah, I think they handled it well in 3 though, because at first it was like, here's some solid, like nice cover that you can hide behind, and then slowly but surely as the levels went on, the cover just started like, they would go like, oh yeah, hide behind this white lawn chair and watch it get destroyed by bullets within seconds, and we'll give you a second to breathe because God, do you need it, because there's no more cover around anywhere. Like they slowly started incorporating cover less and less, which incentivizes you to be more of a strategic. There is a strategy just running around with your head cut off and just shooting a bunch of guys without any cover, because you got to make do with what you don't have. So I feel like if they use that strategy again, but you know, amp it up a little bit, make it so that the cover, like a mimic in Dark Souls, it bites you or something like that, or like if you hide behind it too long, Max will start berating the player. Things of this nature. I feel like these are the fresh changes that Max Payne needs.
You know, before we go on to the next question, I have a good question for you guys, because every discussion we've had, we never really talk about this at all, about like a franchise or anything like that. What are you guys' thoughts on the music?
Incredible. Like can't hate it. The main theme's fantastic. Like it just, all the music in Max Payne is awesome, especially the second one where I think it's called Duty and Passion.
Yeah.
Once you listen to that in battle, it happens like several times. Like the most notable part is when it happens when Max is at danger during the warehouse level, and he's talking about how if Mona doesn't show, he's a dead man. That music is fucking incredible. Like I like, even if they decide to say we're just gonna rip the tracks from YouTube and just reuse them, do that, because I don't want them to change the music like it was in RE2, where it's like very ambient. And I know it makes sense for a horror game, but it just wasn't as pulse pounding as the original.
Knowing Remedy, they'll probably just remix it. They'll probably like use the same thing, but they'll give it that up to date kind of like feel for it.
I agree, but also it's just like we've seen Remedy's games. They know how to do sound design. Like
Exactly.
we've seen if they know what they're doing with it. It's one of the like great things about them is they always have great sound design. They always find songs that are going to stick in your head forever,
Yeah.
and you'll sing it for like a while. So when it comes to sound, at least in this kind of setting, it's in good hands. So I'm not too worried about that aspect. If anything, I'm looking forward to what it is.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, it's their baby. Max Payne 1 and 2 is their baby. So why would they want to ruin their baby by putting like bad music in it or
Bad trance
not
music.
so memorable music in it?
I'm gonna give some love to to Max Payne 3 as well, because Health doing the soundtrack. Fuck yes.
That shit was excellent.
That shit was great.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, especially someone mentioned it a while ago. I think it was Sean. Tears during the airport.
Yes.
Yeah.
scene.
Oh,
That-
yeah,
my-
that one.
so here,
like just shooting to the beat of that song. Just it's time to let me go.
To
Just-
this day,
I'm like,
that
Oh,
airport scene goes fucking crazy. That
Oh,
shit was
hell.
spectacular.
Ooh, as soon as he runs into cover, dan. I'm like, oh hell yeah, what time to shoot?
all right, and I just want to go back to Cryle's point about the ruination of the music. Like, I know they're gonna do like a fantastic job, but like I said, the example of remakes doing music poorly is definitely how RE2 did it with just nothing. You don't hear anything, you just hear
You get nothing.
you get
Fuck
nothing. It's just like you have to get the classic soundtrack to sort of relive that experience. So I'm hoping they don't do that, and that if they do, everything's recomposed to the point where it's as close to the original as possible.
I hope we get
Agree,
Clown
but it's
Basement
also-
from RE1.
It's also a different genre because horror games have been moving towards that for a while, where they're just trying to remove more and more sound, so every little sound just kind of makes you go, "Huh." But this is not a horror game.
Exactly.
That's why I'm not as worried, because it's just like it's not a game that even lends itself to having ambient music like that. It just doesn't make any sense.
That is true, but there is also remakes like outside of horror where it's like you got Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes where the music is not as superior as the first one. So
Not even a little.
not
It's
even
a
a
weird
little
game in general.
Yeah, even outside of horror, it has happened. So that is a legitimate concern for someone to have, really.
What?
I get
What?
that. I really do.
Watch. When the remakes come out, the music's gonna be more depressing than the original.
I mean, for certain scenes, I would buy it because that's how the emotion kicks in. That's how you get emotionally invested. I think music is one of those important things as well for like sad, somber scenes where if it's played at the right time, it's perfect. Like I got everything conveyed to me. It's fine.
Yeah, especially when Max finds his baby and his wife killed.
Mm.
And him holding his wife in his arms, screaming "No!" That song playing is going to be very, very gut wrenching.
But I guess I can move on to the question that I'm gonna let you guys take about the Max Payne film with Mark Wahlberg.
Mark.
Mark, what do you think of the movie if you've seen it?
That movie didn't happen.
Thankfully,
Eh,
I've never seen it in my life.
I
I
saw
have
that
seen
shit
it.
in theaters.
I did.
Oh, good
I
God.
did see it. Oh god.
Please enlighten us. Tell us what that what that masterpiece was like.
It's rough.
I was gonna say, you saw the theaters. You go first. That's a worse experience.
Yeah, I mean, I was completely captive by the whole movie.
Don't tell me you were sober.
No comment.
Oh no.
So it's man, it's such a great story and has so much potential, and they totally gutted it. It's such a surface level look at what Max Payne is. They don't dig into anything beyond surface level, and they just really gut it. They try and tie his wife into everything, and it's bad. It's bad. It's not just like a killing gone wrong. They try and tie everything together, and like his wife finds evidence on Max's superior officer who was selling Valkyr on the streets for profit, and that's why he had her killed. But he's also a father figure to Max, and it's like, why do we even need to do this? This isn't part of the story.
But did he shoot the guys?
Yeah, and
That's a 10.
I just have to say this. Like, I saw that movie, and then I saw John Wick, and I'm just like, what happened? You had everything set up for that. Obviously, we could see it does work. Why?
They took way too many liberties with that movie. It wasn't. They should have kept it relatively faithful. They changed too much of it. For example, BB was never the bad guy in the first game. Never like the main bad guy like that. It was the other chick.
I don't think this section of the podcast is going to be very long.
I just think I'm so confused because it's a game that literally lends itself to being adapted. It's not a complex story. It's really not. And somehow they said, none of this works. Fuck it. None of this works. And I'm just like, how? If you would have kept to it, you had a perfectly adaptable story. You didn't even have to do anything. It was on a platter for you.
If Wes Anderson directed this movie, he would have saved it. In my opinion. No, I'm thinking of the right ass Wes Anderson, right? That's the dude who made the fucking Resident Evil movies.
Paul
right?
W.S. Anderson?
Paul, yes, I meant Paul W.S. Yeah.
Wrong Anderson. He
would have saved this movie.
Well,
oh no.
Well, don't forget.
Are you guys excited though? Because supposedly, according to an insider, they are working on a Max Payne film reboot.
Oh no! Oh no!
20th Century Fox.
Oh no!
Oh no! My interest died.
My stomach hurts now.
Okay, so am I the only one that found it funny that out of the whole movie, this is a movie about Max Payne, there's only really like one bullet time section, just one.
Yeah,
it's like the Doom movie and the FPS sequence. Like,
that's the too.
Time.
Oh boy,
we have to check off that box. So all right, let's squeeze it in there somewhere.
Yeah. For some reason, there was only 2 bullet time scenes. There was one during towards the end with the shotgun, and then there was the ending where Max shoots BB.
Well, we're only talking about the one that really mattered, which was the one with the shotgun. No one remembers the ending because of how convoluted that shit was, and then he just shot him. So it's like they didn't stick the mark on what made Max. Like, think of the action sequence in The Office where he's shooting at everybody, and he's diving all over the place. That would have been a perfect time to do it, but they just didn't.
Hey, don't forget they killed Robin.
They did.
Chris O'Donnell.
I got to watch 300 for every freaking 30 seconds. There's a slow motion scene, but I watched the Max Payne movie and that's what I get for bullet time.
Yes,
that's it.
The shotgun.
What you're saying is we need Zack Snyder to direct it.
Look, honestly, the worst section. The worst part about that movie for me in terms of like performance was Lupino.
Oh yeah.
He wasn't crazy. He was not crazy enough. I wanted to hear the guy yell out, "I taste the blood of fallen angels."
He just seemed like a random NPC that had all these tattoos on him. Like,
That
what?
was a tattoo addiction. The guy has a tattoo addiction in the movie.
Because he's so evil.
Because yeah, that's what lends you to evil, a tattoo addiction. My God.
Can we talk about the fact that they gave it a PG-13 rating?
They did.
That
They were trying to. That's because they were desperate to pull in as many people to watch that movie as possible. Bring your kids, please.
Can we mention the fact that they introduced supernatural elements to it that didn't make any sense?
They did with the angels. I remember.
No, don't worry.
That's part of the whys. Why?
Why?
This was also directed by the fantastic director of the hit film A Good Day to Die Hard.
What?
Oh,
Are you serious?
This makes sense now. This makes so much sense.
He may have been a bit inebriated during the production of Max Payne.
This is a film he did just to get paid.
He said,
didn't
"Fuck
care.
yeah!" He needed that burger.
He's hungry.
Yeah, I'll make it.
It's the same thing Timothy Oliphant said for starting in the Hitman film. He did it so he could get a new countertop.
Yeah.
Hey,
He
actors
said,
got
"You're paying me how much?" All right, sure.
So I just assumed this was a box office bomb, and yeah,
It was.
Now, what if
the
we're
only thing I learned
super
out of
wrong?
this, the only thing I learned out of this is there may be a remake, and so I have things to fear.
Max Payne sweep
Now,
come in 2023.
Now, honestly, this is gonna be a hot take for me. It could be because I have my bias about Marky Mark, but
Lucky Mark.
but to be honest, I did not mind him as Max. I just really wish that the material he was given was better.
he could have pulled it off. I mean,
That's a hot take. That's a hot take for me. That's a very hot take for me.
It's
I did
not
not
like
mind
he's
him
a
as Max.
it's not like he's a bad actor, but the script
It was
all
it was
over the
just
damn place
material.
was just terrible.
Ah.
yeah.
And the rated R version of the movie doesn't make it any better because the most thing that they added was
Blood splatters.
yeah,
I
like
think it was
blood
a little bit more nudity. And that's it. That's all I remember.
Both of those things would make this a better movie.
But it doesn't.
It still doesn't.
If it's
No.
only 0.01% better, it is still better.
I
Oh,
think
man.
I think the blood cloud. I think the blood cloud thing. I think that was a reference to the game because of how, whenever you would shoot at somebody, just like I don't know, like a blood cloud would poof out and somewhere
I'd like
just
to think,
randomly.
I'd like to think Mark Wahlberg didn't even touch the game either.
Oh no.
Nor did he know about it. He's like, "Huh? Yeah, I can do that.
I was
I can
supposed
shoot gun."
I you know what, I'm gonna blame that on the just the director not giving
I'm
him
not
the
usually
proper
one.
material.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not usually one to blame an actor. Most of the time, it just straight up comes down to their writing.
Yep.
It's
You got-
usually a script and the director. That's what it comes down to most of the time.
You could get Jamie Foxx to be fucking Max Payne in that film, but if you give him dog shit writing, there's only so much he can do with it.
It has been proven if you
Yeah.
have a good director, sometimes you can turn a really shitty script into something magical. But if you
Suicide
got a-
Squad.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, take a
James
look
Gunn.
at Clint Eastwood, for example. There was a lot of scripts where he's gotten that was like really dog shit, but somehow he turned it to gold. But then there's also some scripts he's gotten and that movies he's been in where like even like as outstanding his performance was, the script was just not there. There's only so much an actor can do.
Uh-huh.
Like that movie I've never seen, Gran Turismo. People told me
Gran
it's good.
Torino is good. That's a good movie. But
It's a good movie.
Does he race in it?
Depressing.
Yes.
It's depressing as fuck.
It's very depressing. Gran Torino is very, very
Gran
sad. But
Turismo?
it is a
Does
good
he
movie.
race in it?
Yeah.
Okay. I might check it out.
But I guess we can move on to the last question, which is how we would personally rank the Max Payne games to end this podcast. So I'm gonna go real quick on this. I would say 2. No. I'm not gonna start in that order. I'm gonna go from story, and then I'm gonna go from gameplay and rank them. So for story,
Okay.
1, 3, and 2. I think that makes sense because I feel like it was a lot more going on in the first ones that I listed for 1 and 3, which had me a little bit more emotionally invested. And 2 is just like, it's just there. It's not like the most worst thing in the world, but they are retreading beasts with the low story thing.
Yeah. It was just low. That's pretty much what 2 was. It was just a sad, depressing love story that Max just, gets screwed over again by his life.
So that might work for some people, but for me, it just didn't. But it's like, I still enjoy 2 for what it was. On the gameplay front, I would say 2, 3, and 1. Because 1 did not age better than the other one. So that would be like my ranking of gameplay for them. I just think that it's hard to go back to that game for a gameplay perspective because it's very hard to do so.
I definitely do agree because I know for me personally, the gameplay, I would say 3, 2, and then the first game story. Honestly, because this one's really difficult to say, but I don't know. I want to say 1, 3, then 2.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said.
Chris was in Max
story-wise.
Payne 1? And
Huh?
Nelly Furtado? This can't be right. I was looking at the Max Payne 1 cast. But
Max Payne movie cast. What you?
it's outrageous. There's no way Ludacris and Nelly Furtado were in that movie. No fucking way.
Yeah, they were.
They
Oh,
were.
God. What the hell were they doing?
I don't know.
We
but
asked
God,
that
Nelly
question
Furtado
to
was
this
so
day.
hot.
And then for me, at least, like with the music is difficult for me. I honestly wouldn't be able to rate the music because I like the music in all of them, especially the second one. Poets of the Fall, and then the third game with Tears, and the first game was just classic noir kind of like music. The piano is just awesome.
And he referenced it himself, like when he was playing the piano a few of those times in Max Payne 3. He straight up just played the theme. He was like, all right.
I would do that all the time on the Game Boy Advance. I would always play the piano.
Okay. Story wise, definitely 1. There's just a lot more, and it's the foundational story.
Agreed.
2, I would say 3, just because I can't remember 2 story that much, and that I should know it a lot better, but I guess it just doesn't stand out as much to me. So 1, 3, and 2. Gameplay, definitely 2 first because it improved upon what 1 was. 3 was a little refreshing, even though it was weird with some of the cover mechanics, and 1 mostly just because I went back and played it. If I hadn't gone back to play it, I probably would have ranked it up there a little bit higher. But now that I played it, you are correct. It has not aged well. It makes me very, very angry. So angry.
I'm gonna say something a little blasphemous that I've just come up with from hearing what you all say about Max Payne 2.
I'm about to pull down your pants. You better watch what you say.
I'm gonna just say it. So we all agree that Max Payne 2 had somewhat better mechanics than Max Payne 1.
I agree.
It fine-tuned. I haven't gotten to the take yet. It fine-tuned. It fine-tuned some of the attributes that were first brought to fruition with the first game. This is something we can all agree with. However, in the grand scheme of things, when we're rating these games on a scale, for some reason, 2 was always teetering towards the edge, or like not directly at the bottom, but always kind of mediocre, but just good enough to write home about. So I'm gonna go out and just straight up say it. As far as I'm concerned with rating these games, Max Payne 2 might as well be Devil May Cry 2.
No, I don't agree.
No. Oh,
Listen,
That.
if it weren't for Devil May Cry 2, we would not have weapon switching. You had to pause the goddamn game, grab the weapon, then unpause, right? So we could agree that does make you upset. We could agree that Devil May Cry 2 had a better mechanical idea there, right? I'm not saying oh, Max Payne 2 is a piece of shit. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, as far as rating all of these games, that's where I am mentally. I'm like, well, we're just treating this game like it's DMC2. We keep putting it in the corner. We keep going like, all right, poor thing. You go over there while we rate the games.
No.
You sit, plot. Look at this plot. You put Max Payne 2 all the way at the back. Gameplay, you put Max Payne 2 in the middle. Which I highly disagree with. Max Payne 1 was much better gameplay-wise.
I think I'm the one that ranked 2 above 3. Because one thing I don't like... No, I'm talking about like gameplay-wise. Because one thing I don't like about 3 is the fact that they took away some stuff. Like, they added in things like... Obviously, you can take cover and all that. That's good and chunky. But I don't like that they took away grenades. Like, you can't throw grenades back. And enemies can fucking throw them and you can blow up. So it's like,
I think the devs talked about that. They were like, in a few playtests, we saw that grenades were outrageously overpowered in the player's hands, and there was no way we could fix it in time. So we just said, fuck it, no one can have grenades.
Yeah, I don't like that.
But you can have them thrown at you. Eat shit. I feel like you should be able to throw them back. I agree with that. Max used to throw grenades himself. He's not a complete moron. Why does he just look at them?
And I could say this.
Yeah.
While I may not remember the story as well, I had a much more enjoyable experience overall with the second one.
Well, nobody liked DMC2 at all. Like, not even a little bit. But, mechanically, it improved upon.
I was talking about Max Payne 2. DMC2.
I'm still stuck on that god awful comparison I made. But that's all. Everybody's just like putting 2 in the corner. I'm like, poor thing. I didn't like it either, but poor thing.
I'm mostly saying about the story. It's not as memorable. Like,
it's not memorable at all. I'd like to argue.
I only remember it as like I mentioned multiple times. It was just basically the love story between Mona and Max. That was like the main key thing. Yeah, that's the point. It was supposed to be extremely depressing. The fact that Max can't actually have a
normal life anymore
with anybody. Yeah, exactly.
And he updated his trench coat physics.
I feel like 2 was... I'm sorry to cut you off, but I feel like...
Go.
I feel like 2 was the catalyst to just kill, like, a lot of the characters from 1 off, because, like, the only one that survives, I think, is Bravor. That's it.
Yeah, you're actually absolutely right.
Well, because you have to keep in mind, 1, there wasn't going to be a third one. The plan wasn't there for it, so they were already in the mode to, like, kill off all the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And what a sad death that would have been if second was the last one.
And you have to remember, while we all agree we do like the third one, in reality, the third one was highly divisive. There are still people to this day that will not call it a Max Payne game.
That is true. But I feel like ultimately, that's one of the games that aged like fine wine when you go back and see the stuff they tried to set up and attempt. So I think it ended a lot smoother than what they were going for with 2, which is they had the idea of him letting things go during the end, where he said, I saw a dream of my wife and, you know, she's dead, but everything's okay. But it's kind of like a cliffhanger in a sense. So it's like, you know, when you really think about it, all of this stuff comes into the equation.
Yeah, it just ended like more depressing than the first one, because I mean, with Mona dying like that, it just pretty much says that, oh, he can never actually have a normal life or anything like that. It would no longer be easy for him. And I'm like, okay, thank you. That made me even more depressed than I am. Okay, thank you.
That's true, but that's noir. If you're following the genre, they don't end well.
Well, true, but I mean that's why I like Max Payne 3 because at least he had somewhat. It looks like things are kind of looking up for him, despite him gonna be remembering the past like that. But it's not going to affect him like it once did, where
You
he
could-
will.
You could always
You
play
know.
like hard mode where it's like, oh well, Mona lives, because I forgot they actually did that.
Nah.
If you do, I know it's not canon, but there is that option where it's like if you play it on, what is it, Dead Man Walking, New York Minute, I forget, but if you do that, then you'll get a happier ending where she's like alive, and that was just like weird. I guess that was extra replay value.
I prefer her dying.
I do prefer her death because it makes it known that Max cannot just simply hop skip to another girl and be like, hey baby, what's up? Oh wait, you're dead.
That's a funny sentence out of context.
Yeah,
I
but-
prefer her death. Sure.
Yeah, Max is like, yeah, he can't just say, hey babe, I'm gonna slip my train into your station, you know, in the New York Minute. But
I liked a lot of those like older movies where sometimes you don't get closure, and that sometimes is a reflectant on life as well.
And
So,
that's the
like,
closure.
and so in 2 there wasn't closure. It's just sad, and that made it, that portion of the story made it stand out. I don't remember the other details, but that one definitely put a bookmark up. Like, oh yeah, I fucking remember that. She's dead.
Yeah, it's not a bad story though. Like even if we rank things low, it's like the entire trilogy had like a lot to say. But it's just in the context of what we prefer. Yeah, I would definitely say that gameplay wise, 3 and 2 are up there. That's pretty much agreeable. But story wise, it could go like either way. But I feel like 2 just had less memorable moments than the first one.
Oh, I agree.
I'll say this. To be able to withstand the test of time the way it did, I'd have to give Max Payne 1 out of 5, straight up like a 5. Maybe even a 4 for a few of the sections that pissed me off, so it loses points. On the I almost said Dead Space. On the Max Payne 2, 2 out of 5. Not like everyone else has been saying in here. A lot of the score dropping down has to do with Max Payne's strongest points, which is its rich narrative and how that coincides with its gameplay. Like I'm not necessarily all that driven to shoot and kill all these people with the cool physics. If I understand Max motivation, nor Mona Sax's, right?
Yeah.
So 2, and then I go to 3. They changed everything. They changed how the physics work. They changed the bullet time. They fucking rendered the bullets for some reason. The game looks good. It sounds good. The music's good. Blah blah blah. It's fun to speed run. I can't rate it higher than the first one because if I were locked in a room for the rest of my life, I'd rather play the first one forever. So I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. Also, the multiplayer sucked balls, but it's not their fault. And it's probably a Rockstar thing. Put a multiplayer in this game. Fine.
It really is a Rockstar thing.
Yeah,
We'll put a multiplayer in.
I thought it was alright,
Oh,
but
the multiplayer didn't do good. No more content for you, young man.
They also had what is it, horde mode shit. So at least they gave you options to do stuff if you played it. But I agree. Like I didn't like, oh, you do bullet time in someone's direction. They're doing slow mo. It's like too chaotic.
It was so the multiplayer was so busted.
Yeah, well,
It did not work.
Yeah, going back to like the stories and shit like that. Honestly, with Max Payne was like, all about revenge. The second one is about like trying to move on. The third one was all about acceptance, accepting that
Successfully
everything
moving
had
on.
happened,
Lanos, you were
and
saying
trying
something?
to like continue on.
All right, I'm gonna say my hot take. By the way,
Mm.
my hot take: 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
That's how I
Oh.
feel.
3, 2, 1. Oh, I thought you were counting down to do the hot take.
Oh yeah.
So your hot take is 3's better than 2 and 2's better than 1.
Yes, they all improvedly got better as they went. I think they're all fantastic games. I fucking love 1. I fucking love 2. But I think they did what any series should do as it got, as more came, it got better.
I will say this. If you really kind of break down some of the stories, like if you really go into that, like the first one takes a lot of heavy inspiration from Norse mythology because that's just Remedy. And it's more traditional hard-boiled detective. Well, the second one clearly draws from a tragic love story. And so it has to be on your connection on that. So for others, like they may have connected to that story a lot more than others. For me, not as much. So I think it really comes down to your kind of connection of how you feel about a story, or even people who care about story, because some people don't even. And it's like, yes, I'm just going to shoot a lot.
That's true.
I can't blame those people.
That's true, because I mean, even if you boil it down, if you just play Max Payne without thinking about the plot too much, you can just simply go into a room and blow away bad guys. So it is that simple-minded factor there as well, if you're not thinking about it like way too deep.
And just the shooting alone in all three of the games just feels so fucking satisfying.
But
Like, mind you, I'll point towards 3 a lot because holy shit. But even in the first game, which is how long ago now? Like,
I think it was 2000.
That was 2001.
yeah.
Oh,
21 years on, it still feels fucking good.
I was thinking about the third game, so my fault. But
good.
Zemzar, you want to do your rankings?
Yeah, if we split them up, going by story, I think 1, 3, and then 2. And then if we're talking gameplay, I think 3, 2, 1. I think the gameplay gets better with each one for sure.
What about you, Nero? Oh, I think he's dead. Oh,
I would say the same thing. I typed it earlier in chat. I did not like the melee combat on 1 at all. If they do remake it, I hope they have like more viable melee combat.
takedown seems like something that could work. Like, you get up, if you're up close to someone, take their weapon or fucking just beat the crap out of them, and that'll work instead of just swinging a pipe at low range. I can't believe they gave me this fucking weapon on the one where he gets beat with the baseball bat. Like, oh man. And then if someone has a gun, I'm just eating lead. So it's just not viable at all.
They could at least give me some cool bullet time while I'm bashing his head with the bat.
Exactly.
No, there's none of that.
Slow-mo, that would be nice. Just having just like a slow-mo so you can just kind of like have a little dodge mechanic for the bullets.
Oh, but that'd be scary. Could you imagine a dude fast enough to dodge your bullets and bash you with a bat?
You know,
I don't like that.
That would be
I'm already seeing a man who
scary.
can shoot like 12 bullets in a second.
Well, that's understandable. He has a gun. Bullets are fast, but he's just fast enough to zip zap past all my bullets and bash me with a bat. I don't like that.
I'm gonna
imagine
Is that right?
Imagine this.
That's right.
He's shooting 12 bullets, headshots in like a matter of a second. That man's already terrifying.
Yeah.
Cause Dead to Rights, you could take someone's gun and slow mo kill them, and it was just the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah,
So.
you can tell that was the game devs just like beating themselves off. Like, check out these long ass animations we made. Now watch them in slow mo.
Yeah,
We made them as elaborate as possible. Look.
I love that though. I'm not gonna lie, I can't hate it. But I guess it's time to wrap up with the podcast and do our little outros. So
right.
I'm going to go first. So you can find me on YouTube at Renegade Operative. You can find me on Twitter at RenOperative_ and Twitch at Renegade_Operative. Next up is Sean. Where can we find you?
Damn it. Hold on.
He's really trying to go last.
I have to. No, wait. I gotta go to my profile to check. Shite. Oh, you put me right on the spot. I was not ready. I was
Okay,
on my phone.
I can take.
Wait,
mine
wait,
real quick.
no, wait. I'm good. You can find me on YouTube at Stone Age Queen, right? On Twitter, I'm Stone Aged Q. On Twitch, I'm Stone Aged Queen. That's just the rest of these you can't connect with. You can't have my PlayStation. I don't know. Maybe if provided you give me your KDA, like how many kills you get per game. Maybe send me a McDonald's gift card code. Then I'll add you to my PlayStation. But for the rest, you don't have to.
And you hear him, ladies. You gotta work for it. So
You got to work for it.
All right, Bane, what is your outro, good sir? Where can we find you?
You can find me over at Fuzzhow YT on Twitch, Fuzzhow on YouTube, Fuzzhow YT on Twitter. I'm finally gonna start streaming more because I got a new microphone. I'm just waiting for a new microphone stand. So yeah, I'm around. I'm around. But yeah.
Lanos, where can we find you, buddy? Lanos?
Oh, you.
Oh.
Oh, okay. I was making sure. I was like, did I hear that correctly? Yeah, you can find me on most places under Lanosmire, under most social media, including Twitter. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Twitch. You can also find me on Spotify because I have music there now. So, look around.
Zamzara?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Zamzara TV. You can find me on Twitter at Zamzara_. Most of my content's on Twitch. I stream 3 days a week. You can find me just at Zamzara on there. And pretty much any other social media, just search Zamzara, you'll find me.
Nero, where can we find you?
Oh, you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch under the same name, King Nero Barrage. I had to get my lazy ass up and stream.
That's
I have
the
so many
goal that
games.
we all have to do. But last but not least is Mr. Cryo. So where can we find you, buddy?
Oh yeah, I'm last again. All right. Okay. You can find me on YouTube under Cryo Gaming as well as my Twitter account.
All right, and we are going to sign off on this podcast. Interesting discussion, interesting debates,
Yep.
I thank all you gentlemen for coming out and enjoying the festivities of talking about Max Payne, and really excited for those remakes. I as soon as we see like gameplay or extended presentations, we'll definitely be back on it, talking
I
about
didn't even
what
know
we
they were
saw.
happening.
Yeah, we'll be back in a New York minute.
It'll probably be like I don't know 2 years before they actually show something, because they're dealing with Alan Wake 2 at the moment. But
Which looks so good.
which looks very good. Can't wait to talk about that as well. But we're gonna sign out, so we'll see you guys later, and be sure to watch out for anyone popping pills and shooting guns really fast. You might get shot.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
See you.